Look at Nikki, show him to Daddy, she's nice. Say to Nikki. Look at Nikki, Hazel, look. Look at Nikki, look. Stand here and Nikki will get yours out.
Come on.
You're having your force to carry. Oh, I'm in knees, crap.
Mommy. Mommy. Hello. Hello.
So you've done the shoe.
Mommy. You've done the shoe.
Oh, like, you know.
Two.
Get off!
My two kids. No, my.
They're fighting.
Mine. And his water.
No, he's fast as skims me. Oh, no, they're not. They're Risha's though.
Yeah. Two. No, two. That's my one. They're my glass. I did it. Misha. Upside down glasses upside. That's my glass.
Hazel.
Misha.
Hazel.
Well, we went to the Good Housekeeping Institute to carry out some experiments. Microwaves are not distributed evenly in ovens, and you can show this when you put in a pattern of fairy lights. This is not to be tried at home. As the microwaves bounce around the oven, they cause concentrations of energy that light up the bulbs. Now, this is where the so-called hot spots occur, and it's hot spots that lead to food or drink being heated unevenly, and to the eruptions and explosions you've told us about. Each oven will have hot spots in a different place, so we then carried out an experiment to find out where this oven's major hot spots are. We placed heat-sensitive paper at 3 different positions in the oven. This is because hot spots can occur at any level. Only a few seconds of power reveal where they are. In this case, none appeared at the bottom, but the paper we'd placed at the middle level showed 4 hot spots, and 2 of them very clearly. And at the top, those same hot spots are at their most intense. Microwaves with turntables help to lessen the effect of hot spots by moving the food or drink through them. This heat-sensitive paper on a turntable shows how the energy has been distributed more evenly than before. Turntables don't necessarily prevent eruptions, though, and the problems you've had cover a range of liquids, not just coffee. Lucy Brighouse from Wrexham had boiling gravy explode onto her face and hands. Moira Shorten from Newcastle had custard erupt on her hand, and Janet Evans from Aberdeen had an egg yolk she'd pricked explode onto her hands and face.
To get definitive advice on how to avoid this disturbing hazard, we've spoken to Dr. Charles Buffler from New Hampshire in the US, who's been researching microwaves for 30 years. And he mentioned 2 things that many of the British manufacturers did not when we first contacted them in December. The shape of the vessel that the liquid's in is important, and also whether the liquid contains what scientists call nucleating agents, extraneous material which has the effect of allowing the boiling process to start. Air bubbles are the most common nucleating agents, by the way. Without such agents, liquids can't boil properly, and that's when a superheated layer can form below the surface and erupt suddenly. Several school physics teachers have written to us emphasizing the need for nucleating agents. Having a glass rod or any other non-metal stirrer in the liquid throughout the process achieves the same effect. But making sure there's plenty of air in the liquid is perhaps the most important thing. So when you're heating a liquid such as coffee, stir it beforehand, this helps to get air in it, and use a container that's wider at the top than the bottom, a cup rather than a more restrictive mug. Don't overheat the liquid. 1 minute is enough for a single cup of coffee. Thicker liquids and larger quantities need longer, but the general rule is underestimate the heating time. Halfway through, take the coffee out and stir it again. This can help prevent hot spots. The next thing to remember is that the liquid should always stand inside the oven after heating. A rule of thumb, we're told, is to let it stand for as much as half the heating time before removal. Then stir it again a third and final time. All this advice applies to other liquids. So gravy should not be heated in a straight-sided jug. It should be poured into a wide-mouthed bowl. And don't forget to stir vigorously. Thick, viscous liquids are more likely to get superheated layers and are therefore more likely to explode, as we've heard from Food and Drink viewers. They had a number of accidents with gravy and also with custard. Microwaves are meant to be convenient, quicker, simpler, and they're meant to cut down on the washing up. But with all the rules that apply to heating liquids, is this really true? Sue Wilkinson, Consumer Research Editor at the Good Housekeeping Institute.
Sometimes it's just not sensible to use the microwave when you're heating up small quantities of liquid. By the time that you've put the container in and out of the microwave, you've given it its standing time and you've stirred it in between. It's actually easier just to use a pan on the hob.
So, microwaves are not the answer to everything, but many of you have got in touch with us stressing their value. Eileen Blake says that the microwave is a great boon to her disabled son Chris, but she's anxious they should have the best safety advice for him. And Joyce Ashton, who's 75, says that microwaves are of enormous benefit for the elderly. It is a pity, though, isn't it, that we have to chivvy and chase the manufacturers to give us comprehensive safety advice. You might think the British standards for microwaves would demand it, but they don't. The hazards of liquid eruptions do not have to be mentioned at the moment. So, the manufacturers of Matsui, for instance, fully subscribe to the relevant British standards, but do not have to give such a warning. In fact, they tell us they will be incorporating new stirring and standing time information as soon as they can. Good for them. Let's hope the whole industry does this as a matter of urgency.
Wine and champagne with you. Yes, this New Zealand Chardonnay, please. You better give me 2 bottles. Wake up. Here, look, what's this? This is the British Airways antimacassar oils. Can't take you anywhere. Wake up. Look, we're here to talk about New Zealand Chardonnay. Quite astonishingly, British Airways has taken the biggest order ever of New Zealand wine. It's this stuff here, Chardonnay. No below. You can get the same stuff in Sainsbury's, actually, if you're interested in trying it out. And they've got it because it's got something to offer that you can't get in any European wines, or so they think. Picture is in and tell us about it, please.
Oh, well, fruit. I mean, that's the thing. What I've discovered about these New World wines, and particularly New Zealand white wines, as soon as you smell the wine fruit, I mean, this is a plastic mug. It could, I mean, you could smell it out of a rugby boot, for that matter. It would still smell the same. Fruit, 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 all the way. And when you're up in the air, 30,000 feet, you're a bit tense and you're a bit crowded, and I mean, you never know who you're going to sit next to. And this is the kind of stuff that's going to give you pleasure all the way. And frankly, whatever food you have these kind of wines with, the beef, the salmon, the other, it doesn't matter. They go every time.
So we're going to look at a range of New Zealand wines up here on this flight to Lisbon, actually. Rather novel idea, isn't it?
Why are you taking me to Lisbon?
Okay, so we're now moving on to Sauvignon, a great grape of New Zealand. Now, the 91s could be the best ever. Some are in the shops already, some are just drifting into the shops, so we're going to talk about them as a whole group.
The thing about Sauvignon, it is so green, so sharp, wonderful, wonderful, snappy kind of flavours, but soft and round when it comes from New Zealand. I've got this one here called Wairau River, and you smell it, and immediately you're into that world of asparagus. I mean, I've spilled a little bit on my trousers, but not very much. Asparagus never stained anybody. Asparagus, gooseberry, lemon, lime, all those sort of things. Absolutely deliciously tangy stuff. Which one have you got, Jenny?
Well, I've got a lean and green one here. This is Matua Valley. Absolute streamlined school of Sauvignon.
The Jamie Lee Curtis of Sauvignon.
If you're afraid of very, very, very zingy acidic flavours, don't go for these. There are some soft ones in the market, but this one is so true, so... bracken shoots on a hot heath. Absolutely wonderful. Finally, the third one we're going to recommend here is Stoneleigh, which is the fuller figure wine. It's got those other ingredients, but it's rounded. It's softer, more approachable.
You've got to stop talking about yourself like this.
Farewell, Lisbon.
Adios. Oh, Gilly. Well, is this just me, or is there a heart on that? Are you trying to tell me something, Gilly?
I tried to get one without a heart horse.
Oh, no, please don't say that. You may think we're in different seats on this plane. Well, of course we are, because we discovered that we can't do 4 wines from London to Lisbon. We're on the way back now. Lisbon was very good fun. I saw the tarmac twice, and you saw it once.
No suntan, I'm afraid.
No
Now, we
suntan.
promised you more wines other than just the Sauvignons. New Zealand has great wines made from principally 2 other grape varieties. One of them is Chardonnay. I've got a Chardonnay here, and it is nectar. Nose in it's buttery. It's like one of those white chocolate truffles just been rolled in the icing sugar. Lovely, buttery, rich, redolent scents and flavours. Absolutely cracking stuff, it really is. It's called Church Road Chardonnay, the 1990 vintage. That's the first one ever made in this winery, which is in Hawke's Bay. That's on the North Island, of course.
And the thing about New Zealand is we think of them as a white wine country, but they do also do red wines. Now, it is cool there, and therefore red grapes don't ripen so quickly, but in years like 1989 and 1991 when they come, we're going to have stunning wines. And this one here, which is a Montana Cabernet Sauvignon, that's the Bordeaux grape. It's got that black currantiness, that cherryness, but it's always slightly crisp. And it's wonderful food wine because it's so refreshing. Red wines can be a bit heavy. This is light, this is very, very crisp, marvelously defined flavour. Excellent stuff.
Really easy drinking red. You may think that flying to Lisbon has gone to our heads and we're only prepared to recommend really expensive wines. But there's a reason for it. New Zealand is really a producer of quality class act wines which have to have a certain price tag. They really are not involved much in the own label box business. These are the only own labels, the only box there is.
Yeah, it's a tiny country and it's much more expensive to produce wines there than in great big desert areas like Australia has, for instance. This one we found was quite good though. It's a New Zealand Cabernet Merlot. The Merlot grape, the soft grape, you get a nice softness on this, but it's quite serious stuff, isn't it, Gilly?
It's not bad at all.
We don't get that gentle sweetness we get on many other cheap wines. This is quite serious stuff. This isn't bad. All of these wines are not bad, but they're quite serious. Personally, I go a quid higher.
So, a colour-coordinated cockerel isn't much to bring back from Lisbon, but at least we brought back huge enthusiasm, and we're going to be looking at Portuguese wines in a month.
Gillian Oz with a whole new meaning for high as a kite there, I think. I'm not going as far as Lisbon, I'm only going as far as Paris. Les Halles, the famous well, it used to be the famous fruit and vegetable market with their famous onion soup. It was meant originally to revive porters when they were working hard, and also revellers who'd been revelling, although not necessarily on the flight to Lisbon. £1.5 of onions is what you need. A trick, by the way, about peeling onions. Get the whole onion, cut it in half, trim the top and bottom a bit, and you'll find that it'll peel much easier if you've halved it. As you can see, the peel just falls off the onion. It makes it really much easier to peel. When you've peeled them, cut them very thinly across the grain. Really thinly, because the point is that the more thinly you cut them, the more surface there is of the onion to caramelize and brown, which is what you're going to do with it. So if you cut it really thinly, little thin strings like that are fine, and you keep going until you lay it flat, and you keep going, cutting it thinly, 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 all the way. £1.5 of onions cut like that, so they're really in fine slices. And then you fry them. Now, traditionally, people used to fry them in this, which is beef dripping. But if you're a little more careful about the kind of fats you eat, some polyunsaturated oil is fine. You fry them in a saucepan with this. Now, this is the key ingredient for turning the colour. It's sugar. About a teaspoonful is right. If you want a little more brown, you can add a little more sugar, but it becomes very rich at that point. And you fry them until they're really brown, like these. I've done these for about 10 minutes, and as you can see, I hope they've really browned beautifully. I'm going to add to them this, which is beef stock. Now, before you panic and think I can't manage beef stock, it's too much like complication, you can now buy very good concentrated beef stock, fresh beef stock like that. And one of those tubs, watered down, produces the 1.5 to 2 pints of liquid, which is what you need. Add it all in. As you can see, it's still jellied a bit there. And the other thing is this. This is soy sauce. Good soy sauce, about 2 teaspoonfuls, adds colour and savour. It adds a certain richness to the flavour, though it's not traditionally French. A good pinch of salt, a little pepper, and you simmer that for at least 30 to 35 minutes. So the flavours blend and the onions soften. When you've done all that, it comes out like this. I've made a nice big pot of it here, so you can see exactly how it comes out, and so I can show you how you finish it, because you haven't finished it yet. There's a little bit extra to do. Normally you just add herbs to a soup or as decoration and freshness, but this is not going to get made fresh, it's going to get made even richer. You need a heat-proof bowl, and you put the soup in till it's fairly full, and then you add this. This is a lightly toasted piece of French bread. You need one that just fits inside the bowl, and then some of this Gruyere cheese. I'm afraid cheddar won't really do. This is that French cheese that tastes rich and melts beautifully, and you pile it on top. Then you put that under the grill for about 3 or 4 minutes, depends on how strong your grill is, and obviously you do one per person. And when it comes out, the whole thing has turned into a sumptuousness of cheese. It's the perfect French setting, the bistro. So I think I better just cue the Maigret music.
I think viewers ought to be told that to get the real authentic effect, Michael arrived this morning with the onions over the handlebars of his bike, and a dashing figure he was. The new issue of BBC Good Food magazine, that's got Michael's onion soup recipe, if you would like a permanent record of it. It's also got a step-by-step guide to the art of pastry making. And CFAX page 626 has got all our programme information as usual. Now, I mentioned Will Perkins at the beginning of the programme, one of a group of reluctant men we taught to cook a couple of years back. Their teacher, you might remember, was food writer Ros Denny.
A nice young one here for me. What is your name?
William Perkins, ma'am.
And
you
what?
can call me Will.
Oh! Right, Will, and how old are you?
24.
Oh, a baby. You want to cook?
Not really, no.
Well, I'm going to teach you whether you like it or not, Will.
You promise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since that programme, Will and his wife have separated, and at the moment, Will is looking after their 2 children. So now he has to cook. How is he getting on? Well, we asked Ros Denny to go to Studley in Warwickshire to find out. Feeding 2 small children is quite a different challenge to the one we set Will in 1990.
Ros, come in!
Oh, can we? Lovely to see you.
And see you. Meet the crew.
Hello, crew.
Can you remember
Hello.
Ros?
Tumble, hello.
She's grown a bit since last time. And
Give
look,
me a kiss. Go on, give me a kiss. I'm going to take one from you, aren't I? No?
Can you remember
Well,
us?
this one will. I've never seen this one before. Hello.
This is Matthew, the beast.
Hello, Matthew the Beast. Oh, what's Matthew been at?
I've been on my own 6 months now.
6 months, is it?
6 months. We're getting there slowly. A few heart attacks and a few pounds less later.
And a beard that's growing back again. I'm
Yeah, I
pleased to
get.
see.
I can't afford the razors. That's good. On the times it. Well, I have actually prepared something for you.
Have you?
As a little surprise. It's not fish finger sandwiches, I'm afraid.
Oh, I was looking forward to that. Oh, boy.
What do you think?
That. Very good. Let me have a sniff. Ooh, wonderful. Do you know, all it needs now is a little garnish.
Yeah.
Look at those potatoes, perfectly arranged. And you've still got the skins on, that's good.
No.
Oh, look at that, looks like a telly ad. It really does look very good. Well, I can't believe I taught you all this. You've learnt between.
It's a case of having to, Ros.
Let's see how tender that meat is. That's wonderful. Very good.
I was listening, you know,
Pork
2
tender.
years ago. I was listening.
No, I couldn't do better than this.
What I'll do is freeze it. I mean, I'll have a dinner out, and the children have a dinner out of it, and then there'll be probably 10 dinners for the kids.
10 out of that?
Yeah. I haven't got any of that frozen, but what I have got frozen is some roast beef. Can I show you?
Yes.
This is what I do. That's obviously Matthew's portion and Gemma's portion.
Very good.
The other thing I did, which I picked up from my mum, is gravy, leftover gravy.
Yeah.
Never throw it away.
No.
Have too much gravy, freeze it. As with main courses, I tend to stick to roast beef, casseroles, lasagnas, shepherd's pies, because I'm used to cooking it. I can do it quickly, conveniently, and I know those recipes.
But what about fish? You've not mentioned fish.
I don't like fish. Apart from fish finger sandwiches, I don't like fish.
You don't like fish. You see, what's happening is because you don't like it, you're not introducing your children to it. And fish is a very good source of protein. It's also low fat. And it's also quite cheap.
Willie's keen to find out whether he's giving his children a good diet. So we're off to the Children's Hospital in Birmingham to see someone whose job it is to analyse young children's meals.
One of the warning points we need to make is that it is important not to be too strict with the dietary guidelines, otherwise they can end up with too few calories. I know for adults they're often concerned about too many, but with young children who are so active, it is important that their diet isn't too restrictive in terms of fat, and that you aren't pushing too much fibre so that they just can't eat the volume of food that they need.
What I do, I cook in bulk, and when I finish cooking as regards a roast dinner, I will put them in dishes, cellophane, and stick them in the freezer. I'm concerned that when I reheat them via the microwave that I'm losing some of the goodness.
No, I think as long as they're frozen properly and quickly after cooking, you shouldn't have lost much of the nutritional value at all, if any. People often think frozen vegetables are less nutritious than fresh, but provided they have been frozen promptly and soon after picking, they can be just as nutritious, if not more so, than vegetables that might have been hanging around a shop for several days or even longer.
Right, gosh, it's a long time since I've been shopping with a man, Will. Do you know that?
At the moment, Will is on income support, which only leaves him around £20 a week to feed himself and his children. However, his first hurdle is to get the shopping done.
What's...
Right. Oh, God, am I even holding the baby?
Here. What do you want?
Where is Craig?
You want to pick up?
Oh,
No.
What do I do with this one, then?
I don't know. Ross, one of the things I've learnt with shopping, you get it done quickly and simply.
Well,
they moan,
with moaning
cure
children.
it.
I
You
know,
push the trolley and I'll hold them.
Trolley, okay.
With the shopping done, we've been invited to a kids' party where I've been roped in to do the food. One of the problems, though, in cooking for young children is getting them to try it, as all mothers will testify.
He only eats baked beans or biscuits, I'm afraid.
They won't eat potatoes unless it's disguised, mashed into rice. His favourite thing is rice.
Well, Jess is a vegetarian, actually, but doesn't like very many vegetables. Well, do you feed her on? It's a great sort of challenge to me.
He won't eat the tomatoes, but I think it eats everything else.
Well, she has a lot of boiled eggs. She's very fond of boiled eggs. And then she'll eat most other food, like mashed up potatoes with gravy and mashed up vegetables. She doesn't eat very much fruit, but that's probably because I don't. So I never give it to her. Oh, yeah. Oh, I think she's going to be sick. She eats a lot of other things that aren't food, you see. That's probably what's the matter with her now.
She's eating the bean sprout.
Yeah, she's eating a bean sprout. She doesn't like it.
Now, it's going to be basically a pasta dish, but what I like to do is I like to mix all my pasta shapes together. I've got wholemeal pasta there, I've got pasta bows, I've got spirals. Right, now, Will, here's a good basic, cheap, nutritious thing to show you, and that's a basic white sauce made with sunflower margarine and full cream milk. Do you remember that dietitian was telling us we had to use the full cream milk for children under 5, all right? Now, you're going to do this, so I'm going to hold the baby.
Right. You tell me what, you tell me what to do.
Tip it all in one sauce. Right. Tip that in as well.
You don't
and then,
sieve it?
No, just chuck it all in. And the milk, all in at once. All in at once. And
full pint.
It has to be done from cold, that's it, yes. Straight in. I've not pre-cooking those because they've been frozen, that's why, okay? Now let's add the onions, those in there. I'll tip, you scrape that off. Cook-a-doke.
Now this is the type of cooking I like. Throw it in.
That's right, there you go.
Throw it in,
That's right, keep stirring. And I think we're going to add the tuna fish as well, okay? Tip that all in. Okay, well, I've added the cheese to the sauce. Now I'm going to pour this in. This is the party dish. Right, as I pour, I want you to stir it in, okay? Quite a runny sauce because I've got all this sort of, yep,
Mix it all in.
because it's got to be mixed in with the pasta and I don't want it too goopy. Put these little shapes on. We've got stars. These are all cut out from cheese slices. Yes, and then we've got little cherry tomatoes. Kids love those. I call this my superstar pasta. Doesn't matter if they overlap a bit.
Well, Ross.
That's great. Now then.
This looks delicious.
Yeah.
It smells delightful.
I know, just what you're going to say.
How are they going to eat it?
Well, we'll see. And if not, we get all the grown-ups to. Now, the next major test is to see what the grown-ups think of my my offering. Gay, you have a little taste there. Is this the sort of food you'd serve at home?
It is,
Oh,
yes.
good. Well, hopefully. I'm sure it won't be as good as yours. But do you do this sort of thing at home
You want
yourself?
some?
Yes,
Yes.
certainly the things with different shapes.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Really nice.
I'll have to spoon you. Have a spiral. A nice green spinachy spiral. Yes? It's good. Yes? Okay.
I think one of the points that we proved is kids, half the kids like half the stuff and half of them don't like half the stuff. But what we've got, by making exciting shapes and making it colourful, we've got them to try it. And as we know, that's half the battle.
That's the thing. Yes, that's
Well,
right.
We can't change them, we can't force them to like it, but we can encourage them to try it.
Well, I'm glad to see Roz survived working with children. Now about that low-fat spread we were going to tell you about. This is it. It's an extraordinary 5% low-fat spread. Now, the lowest before was about 25%, so this is 5 times lower than the previous one. Now, before we actually tell you about the detail of it, let's have a little tasting. I've got a small panel of extraordinarily expensive experts here. Gilly, would you like to try it au naturel and pour no egg for you? I'm sorry, you wanted egg and soldiers, but that's just got strawberry jam on it.
My favourite, Michael, thank you.
Now, it's actually made from milk whey, and if you're looking for it in the supermarket, you'll find it with a little label that says Simplesse on the bottom. It can be made also with egg white mixed in, and it's an extraordinary process which produces what they call mouthfeel that's like butter or margarine. At least that's what they say. What do you ladies and gentlemen think? How's your mouth feel?
It's got a mouth stick, actually.
Mouth
Very curious texture. It gets in between the teeth and doesn't want to move, unlike butter or the other low-fat spread. But I must say, it's a revelation to me. I'm a butter eater myself. I thought the gold was lovely and rich and sort of buttery seeming. This one was curiously salty. Not much flavour, but a bit salty what there was. It was a good effort.
I thought, Michael, once you got the jam on, you couldn't really tell any difference between the two. But this stickiness in the mouth, it's like emulsion paint to walls, isn't it? It sort of hangs and hangs there. I don't like that.
So I think we full marks for trying, and for flavour not bad, but I think there is still a slightly cheesy texture to it. But for first off, I think with 5% fat, it's terrific.
And that's it. Next week we'll be looking at what the healthiest diet is for women who want to get pregnant, plus recipes for indulgent ginger pudding and exotic stuffed fish. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Greed.
How much would you say that this is worth?
Nothing doing.
$40,000, $50,000?
Desire. She's gone, missing, stolen.
Crime.
Where is it?
Suspicion.
Jake, what have you done with it?
What are you talking about? What have I done with it? I didn't do anything with it. It's gone.
And all because of The Object of Beauty, starring John Malkovich and Andy McDowell, Sunday at 10 on 2.
Ugly looking thing, isn't it?
40 Minutes joins the search for an American airman killed in action 50 years ago. In the jungles of the South Pacific Islands, leading the expedition is Dr. Dan, unaware of the problems that will face him.
Bye-bye, Chief.
The islanders regard the searchers as a yearly pay packet and take advantage. Until along comes Australian Ken, good with the natives and with an uncanny ability to find just what is being looked for.
Is anybody on the island the person they appear to be? 40 Minutes finds out, tonight at 9:50 on 2.
Well, a hail of bullets greets our hero now as Sam Beckett quantum leaps into big trouble.
All right. Just hold on to your pants.
My first guess is I'm not here for a date.
Thank God. I thought you'd never... Oh, no. Not you.
Definitely not a date. I think...
Oh, don't think. It'll just get us in trouble. Wait here, I'll get my suitcases. Richardson said to pack light. As if I've never done this before. Well, don't just stand there. Go put them in the car. You did bring a car, didn't you? I've got an ice cube's chance in hell of getting out of this. It's my own fault. Whose fault is it? It's your fault, Anna.